So, my presentation is entitled Moving Away from Incineration Towards a Circular Economy. The presentation will provide context for and will outline several policy suggestions for a green recovery. For those of you who don't know me already, my name is Shlomo Dowen, and I am the National Coordinator of the United Kingdom Without Incineration Network. So, UKWIN was founded in 2007 with support from Friends of the Earth. UKWIN is the only national UK-wide network supporting local anti-incineration campaigns and campaigners up and down the country. We are currently working with around 50 local groups, and together with our members over the years, UKWIN has helped prevent more than 100 incinerators. We continue to work nationally to inform the waste and resources policies and decisions, the discourse. We seek to debunk industry greenwash and to provide accurate, fact-based information that we make available free of charge. We maintain a website at ukwin.org.uk that includes many resources that you might find interesting. And after this event is over, I'll encourage you to go and visit. We will be circulating information that can help you get back to that website, so you don't need to be taking notes here. Next, I want to show you a graph. This is a graph that is drawn from DEFRA data, and it clearly shows that we've seen a large increase in waste incineration in England, particularly over the past decade. Across the UK, we currently have around 14.6 million tonnes of incineration capacity that is fully operational. We're talking here about incinerators that can handle municipal solid waste as distinct from animal carcass incinerators or hazardous waste incinerators. We also have nearly 4 million tonnes of additional emerging capacity that is either under construction or that is nearly operational. This means that even without building any new incinerators over and above those I mentioned, the UK will very soon have the capacity to burn an astounding and worrying 18.5 million tonnes of waste a year at a total of 65 installations. Despite the UK's already high rate of incineration, and despite the excess in existing capacity, there are currently more than 100 incinerator proposals with a combined capacity of more than 26 million additional tonnes. This would bring us to about 44.5 million tonnes of incineration capacity. Obviously, we're hoping that none of those 100 proposals go through. In some regions, like London, which you can see here, the West Midlands here, and the Northeast, we have a cluster of existing incinerators. And this image is taken from the interactive map and table from UKWIN's website, where you can see in much more detail where the incinerators are located, and you can get a sense of the capacity for each one. What are the impacts of all of these incinerators? What impact are they having on our recycling rates? If we look here, we see a graph that shows recycling and incineration rates in different English regions. If we look to the right of the screen, we can see the data for 2018-19 for London, which recycled only around 30%, as shown by the red line, while it incinerated nearly 60%, as shown by the blue line. This is, of course, before we engage with the additional capacity of a rebuilt Edmonton incinerator or a second Corey incinerator. As Durham University's Professor Gregson observed, and as he responded to John Grogan's question, the areas with the highest levels of incineration have the lowest recycling rates. The only way that recycling can be increased, for example, in places like London, the West Midlands, and the Northeast, would be to send less to incineration. This brings us to our next question. What are we currently sending for incineration? If we look at what householders are throwing away, we find that around 35% is food waste, 26% is paper, card, or plastic, and much of the rest is either compostable, like garden waste, or it does not burn, like metal, glass, and brick. Whether we look at household waste, or whether we're looking at commercial and industrial, known as C&I waste, both DEFRA and RAP have found that around 75 to 80% of the so-called residual stream could and should have been recycled or composted. Burning material that should be recycled or composted is a huge loss to our economy. Incineration wastes finite resources, squanders nutrients that are needed for healthy soil, and is a leakage from the circular economy. As you can see, it is below the line there in that diagram. Far more jobs are sustained through recycling and the circular economy than through incineration. In addition to wasting resources, incineration is accompanied by climate harm that is not compensated for by the incineration industry. About half a ton of fossil CO2, as distinct from a ton of total CO2, is directly emitted for each ton incinerated. Electricity generated through incineration comes at a higher carbon cost than electricity from coal or gas, and needless to say, far more than solar panels and wind. In fact, the carbon intensity chart there disadvantages both wind and solar because it includes the bit of carbon that is released through their production and installation, whereas we don't include those details for CCGT, combined cycle gas turbine, or coal or incineration. Otherwise, it would be even less favorable. Clearly, what this shows is that if we are serious about decarbonizing the electricity supply in the UK, we will need to incinerate less. Indeed, the Committee on Climate Change told the UK government earlier this year that, quote, achieving significant greenhouse gas emission reductions in the waste sector requires a step change towards a circular economy, moving away from landfill and incineration and towards a reduction in waste arisings. So, what policies could move us away from incineration and towards a circular economy? The first is an immediate moratorium on new waste incineration capacity. The moratorium would not shut down all operational incinerators overnight. What a moratorium would do is help prevent further incineration overcapacity, whilst forcing operators and others to make better use of existing capacity. We anticipate that plenty of existing incineration capacity in the UK will be freed up as more material is diverted from incineration to recycling and composting in line with the resources and waste strategy. Other benefits of a moratorium on new incineration capacity would include protecting air and soil quality and supporting the move to net zero carbon. As the Zero Carbon Commission noted in September this year, a tax on incineration would increase incentives to recycle more and to generate less waste. Even if the incineration tax were set at just half the rate of the landfill tax, which means it would be around £50 a tonne, it would incentivize redesign, reuse, and recycling, and would generate around £1 billion a year to invest in the green recovery. And our third set of policy suggestions, UKWIN advocates on behalf of targets to reduce both total and residual waste. These waste minimization targets would be in line with DEFRA's October 2020 statement that reducing residual waste would help some of the adverse environmental impacts to air, soil, and water caused by incineration. Contrary to statements made in an attempt to protect the incineration industry from the present and the future, there are plenty of better ways forward, all of which can be part of a circular green recovery. The policies proposed by UKWIN can support the good work already being done. England can learn lessons from Scotland and Wales, as well as from elsewhere. We could be investing in education and waste minimization efforts, and reuse schemes and reuse parks, as well as in the redesign of products to make them more durable and easier to repair and to recycle. We can do a much better job of sorting, recycling, and remanufacture. The list of viable alternatives to incineration goes on and on. You can see there's more there on the slide. The message is clear. Incineration is a barrier to the circular economy. Incineration is harming recycling, and incineration is exacerbating climate change. The policies outlined by UKWIN can help us address these problems whilst creating hundreds of thousands of green jobs as part of supporting the move towards a circular economy.